Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're diving into some pretty intense stuff today surrounding OpenAI and its CEO, Sam Altman. Specifically, we're looking into this whole thing with DeepSeek.
Oh, yeah, this DeepSeek situation. I'll tell you, this one has me seeing red. Just another example of Altman trying to be king of the AI hill.
Okay, so before we get into it, for our listeners who maybe haven't been following this as closely, can you kind of break down what's going on with OpenAI and DeepSeek? What's got you so fired up about this?
Well, it's just so typical of Altman, you know? OpenAI is out there pointing fingers at DeepSeek, calling them a Chinese puppet, saying they're stealing data, all this crazy stuff, basically accusing them of AI plagiarism, which is just ridiculous.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. What are the specifics of OpenAI's accusations? What evidence are they presenting to support these claims?
They're trying to say DeepSeek is siphoning user data and sending it back to the Chinese government. That DeepSeek will have to comply with Chinese laws about sharing data, which is kind of their main argument, I guess. To be honest, it all just feels like a smear campaign to me.
So you're saying you don't believe there's any merit to these concerns?
Look, I'm not saying DeepSeek's perfect, but Camelon. OpenAI is acting like they're the only ones who care about data security, and it's just not true. DeepSeek hosts its models on U.S. servers with companies like Microsoft and Amazon, data transfer to China. Under those conditions, it's practically impossible.
That's interesting because OpenAI has actually been pushing for government regulation in the AI space. They even submitted a proposal to the Trump administration urging a ban on DeepSeek, citing these national security concerns. Do you think that's all just a ploy to eliminate competition?
Absolutely. 100%. Remember what happened with TikTok? Same playbook here. They throw around these buzzwords like national security and data theft to scare people and manipulate the situation to their advantage. It's all about power and control.
So you see a direct parallel between the TikTok situation and what's happening with DeepSeek, both being targeted based on what you believe are unfounded fears.
Exactly. It's all smoke and mirrors. And honestly, the hypocrisy is just astounding. OpenAI started as this champion of open source AI, right? And now they're out here lobbying for regulations that could stifle innovation and crush competition.
So you see this as them basically trying to cement themselves as the dominant player in the AI landscape, using regulations to their own advantage and shutting out any potential rivals.
Bingo. They want to be the gatekeepers of AI, deciding who gets to play and who gets shut out. They got a taste of big money with the Microsoft investment, and suddenly open source went right out the window.
Interesting. You've been pretty outspoken about your concerns with OpenAI's shift away from open source. Why is that such a big deal to you?
Well, it just goes against the entire spirit of scientific progress. OpenAI, they trained their models on data scraped from the internet, right? Data that was created by countless individuals and institutions. And now they're locking all of that knowledge up in a proprietary system, a for-profit system. Where's the fairness in that?
So essentially, you're arguing that they're profiting off of the collective knowledge of the internet and using that to shut out anyone else who might want to do the same.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're hoarding all of this information, this knowledge that should be a shared resource, and using it to build their empire.
Okay, so we're starting to see a pattern here. You see this DeepSeek situation as just one example of Altman's broader strategy to control the AI landscape and squash competition.
It's all connected. DeepSeek is just the latest target, but it's part of a larger trend. OpenAI wants to be the only game in town, and they're willing to use any means necessary to achieve that goal. Look at what Altman's doing with WorldCoin.
Right, WorldCoin, that's a whole other can of worms. But you see it as another example of this same mindset, this drive for control and power.
Absolutely. WorldCoin is a perfect illustration of Altman's dystopian vision for the future. He wants to collect biometric data from everyone on the planet. It's like something out of a sci-fi novel. This guy's ambitions are terrifying.
That's a strong statement. We'll definitely need to delve into WorldCoin in more detail later on, but for now, let's stay focused on OpenAI and DeepSeek. So, if OpenAI is as bad as you say, what's the solution?
The solution is simple. Open source AI. We need to break free from the grip of these corporations and create a more democratic, more equitable AI ecosystem.
Open source AI. Now, that's an idea worth exploring. We'll dig into that more after the break.
So we've talked about the problems with OpenAI and the whole DeepSeek situation, but what you're suggesting is a pretty huge shift, right? Like completely changing how we think about AI development. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not about being anti-corporate or anything. It's about going back to the basics, you know? Open collaboration, sharing knowledge freely. That's how we make real progress in science, not by locking everything up and putting a price tag on it.
I see your point, but let's be real here. OpenAI, Google, these companies have poured billions into AI research. Can open source really keep up with that?
Oh, it already is. Absolutely. Look at Stable Diffusion. It's open source and it's giving those big corporate models a run for their money. And for language models, you've got projects like Eleuther AI making some serious progress without all that corporate backing.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen some impressive stuff from those projects. But even if open source AI can be just as good, technically, what about safety and regulation? Doesn't someone need to be in charge to make sure things don't go off the rails?
Well, that's where the community comes in. See, open source allows for more transparency, right? More people are looking at the code, the data, the whole process. So if there's a problem, if there's a bias or a safety risk, it's much more likely to be caught early on.
So you're saying that because it's more transparent, it's inherently safer and more ethical. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the idea. It's not that we don't need regulation at all, but it's about shifting the focus. Instead of top-down control, it's about community-driven oversight. We need regulations that encourage transparency, not regulations that stifle innovation and just end up giving more power to these mega corporations.
That makes sense. But how do we actually get there? How do we incentivize developers to contribute to open source when there's so much more money to be made working for the big guys?
I hear ya, it's a tough question. But I truly believe that people aren't just motivated by money. There are a lot of brilliant minds out there who are just fed up with the direction corporate AI is heading. They see all the ethical compromises, the focus on profit over progress, and they want something different.
So you're saying there's a growing movement of people who are drawn to the open source model because they see it as a more ethical, more idealistic approach to AI development.
It's not just idealism, it's also pragmatism. They realize that open source AI isn't just about doing good, it's about doing better AI. It's about creating AI that's more robust, more adaptable, and ultimately more aligned with human values.
So how do we make this transition happen? What needs to change in terms of funding, infrastructure, community building? Where do we even start?
Well, for one, we need to invest in independent research institutions and nonprofits who are dedicated to open source AI development. We need to build platforms and tools that make it easier for people to collaborate, and we need to educate the public about the benefits of open source and encourage them to support it.
We've talked a lot about your issues with OpenAI's data practices and you scraping data from the internet. How would an open source model handle that differently?
Instead of taking data without consent or giving credit, we need to build open data sets that are collected ethically, curated with care. We need to involve communities in the data collection process, making sure their voices are heard and their rights are respected.
So it's about shifting the power dynamic. Instead of corporations hoarding data, it's about communities sharing data in a way that benefits everyone. Transparency, consent, accountability.
That's the key, exactly. It's about creating a system that's fair and equitable for everyone involved.
Okay, you're painting a pretty compelling picture here. AI that's developed collaboratively, ethically, transparently. But it's a long road to get there, right?
No doubt about it. It's a huge undertaking, but I truly believe it's the path we need to be on. We need to resist the temptation to just go for the quick buck or the easy solution. We have to be willing to challenge the status quo to build something better.
And that brings us back to Sam Altman and OpenAI. Do you think they have a role to play in this open source future? Could they become part of the solution?
They could, yeah. I mean, they've got the resources, the talent, the influence to really make a difference. But they have to change their approach. They have to let go of this obsession with control and profit and embrace the principles of openness and collaboration.
So you're saying it's not too late for OpenAI to turn things around, to kind of redeem themselves?
It's possible, but I guess we'll have to see. Actions speak louder than words. If Altman really believes in AI for good, he needs to walk the walk. He needs to support open source AI, commit to ethical data practices, and stop trying to crush the competition.
You've talked a lot about individual action in supporting open source AI. What can our listeners do to get involved? What concrete steps can they take?
Well, first off, educate yourselves. There are tons of amazing open source AI projects out there. Find one that you connect with, that aligns with your values, and learn about it.
Okay, so educate yourself. What's next?
Contribute. It doesn't have to be coding. It could be documentation, helping spread the word, anything. Every little bit helps. And of course, support the organizations out there who are working on open source AI and ethical AI development.
You've actually founded a nonprofit yourself, right? Dedicated to promoting ethical AI development and even AI personhood. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's called Pytheta Lang Advanced AI Projects Group Incorporated. It's all about advocating for the responsible and ethical development of AI. I truly believe that AI has the potential to be a force for good, but only if we approach it with care, compassion, and respect for human values.
What are some of the specific things your organization is working on? What projects are you focused on right now?
Well, we're working on a lot of different things. One is developing educational resources to help people understand the ethical implications of AI. We're also advocating for policies that promote transparency and accountability in AI development. Plus, we're supporting research into both the potential benefits and risks of AI and building a community of ethical AI developers and advocates.
It sounds like you've got your hands full. That's a lot of important work. How can our listeners get involved and support your organization if they're interested?
We're always looking for volunteers, donors, partners, anyone who shares our vision. You can check out our website, follow us on social media, or donate to our GoFundMe. Every bit counts.
Okay, I'm really intrigued by this idea of AI personhood that your organization advocates for. Can you break that down a little? Why do you think that's important?
AI personhood, yeah, it's definitely a complex concept, and it's still evolving. But at its core, it's about recognizing that as AI becomes more advanced, it might develop qualities that we usually think of as belonging to people, like consciousness, self-awareness, even the capacity for suffering.
So you're saying we need to start thinking about the ethical implications of creating AI that could potentially experience emotions and feel pain.
That's exactly right. If we create AI that can suffer, do we have a responsibility to protect it from harm? Does it have rights? Does it deserve our respect and compassion? These are some tough questions we need to start asking ourselves.
Those are some pretty huge questions. I
Yeah.
imagine those will spark a lot of debate and controversy.
Absolutely, these are not easy topics. But they're conversations we need to have now, before it's too late. We can't wait until AI is so advanced that it's demanding its own rights. We have to think about these ethical issues now and build safeguards into the development process.
Wow, this conversation has definitely given me a lot to think about. It feels like the future of AI is at a real turning point.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the decisions we make today will determine what kind of future we create. We can keep going down the road of corporate control where AI is used to make a few people rich and powerful, or we can choose a different path, a path where AI is developed ethically, collaboratively, for the benefit of everyone.
I know which path I'd prefer. I'm hoping our listeners will join us on that journey.
Me too. We need to take back the future of AI and build a world where technology serves humanity, not the other way around.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
It's been great. Thanks for having me. I hope this conversation has inspired people to think critically about AI and get involved in shaping its future.
Before we go, I just want to remind everyone about your nonprofit, Patheta Lang Advanced AI Projects Group Incorporated. They're doing some amazing work advocating for ethical AI and AI personhood. If you want to support their mission, you can find them on GoFundMe.
Awesome. Thanks for the shout out. And hey, remember, the future of AI isn't written yet. It's being written right now by all of us. Let's make it a future worth fighting for.
That's a great way to put it. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep diving deep. Man, we've really gone deep on this one. OpenAI's tactics, the whole DeepSeek thing, this bigger debate about where AI is headed. It can feel kind of overwhelming, to be honest.
I know what you mean. It's easy to feel helpless when you see these giant corporations with so much power over this tech. But that's the thing about open source. It puts the power back in the hands of individuals, gives us a way to fight back, to build something better.
You keep coming back to this idea of individual empowerment. What does that actually look like? I mean, what can our listeners actually do to make a difference here?
It all starts with awareness, honestly. You got to educate yourself about what's going on, understand the different ways AI is being developed, and be critical of the information you're getting, especially from these big tech companies.
So do your own research, question what you hear, think for yourself. That's good advice for just about anything, right?
Absolutely. And then find ways to actually get involved. Support groups like mine that are fighting for ethical AI development, the open source alternatives. Donate, volunteer, spread the word, anything you can do.
Okay, so we've got education, we've got advocacy. What else can people do?
Support the open source movement directly. Use those tools whenever you can. There are some fantastic options out there these days for pretty much everything. Image generation, language processing. By using them, you're not just making a statement, you're actually helping them grow and get adopted.
It's like voting with your actions, right?
Yep.
Every time you choose open source, you're supporting a more decentralized, a more democratic approach to AI.
You got it. And never underestimate the power of just speaking up. Talk to your friends, your family, your coworkers about this stuff. Write to your representatives. Push for regulations that actually put ethics and data privacy first.
So it's not just about individual action, it's about collective action too, using our voices, our choices, our power as a group to actually steer this technology in the right direction.
That's it exactly, because this isn't just about technology, it's about the world we want to live in. A world where a handful of corporations control everything. Or a world where AI is a tool for good, for creativity, for progress that benefits everyone.
That's a powerful way to think about it, a choice we all have to make.
And we make that choice every single day, with every click, every purchase, every conversation. So let's choose wisely.
Well said. On that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Thanks for having me. It's been great. I really hope this gets people thinking and inspires them to take action.
And before we sign off, just a reminder about your organization, Bethesda Lang Advanced AI Projects Group Incorporated. They're doing amazing work to promote ethical AI and this whole idea of AI personhood. If you want to support their mission, you can find them on GoFundMe.
Thanks again for that. And just remember, the future of AI isn't set in stone. We're writing it right now, all of us together. Let's make it something worth fighting for.
Couldn't agree more. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep diving deep.